I think in the beginning, there was a lot of fear around AI. By the end of the week, I think was more positive, and everybody had ChatGPT on their phone. Your AI has to learn with you. You have to learn with it. It's not going to be perfect. You're not perfect. So,
in our first 2 episodes, we talked about why SkarrNet exists and what we believe about learning in the age of AI. This episode is about what happens when those ideas hit the ground. Bridges LA is where philosophy becomes practice, where theory meets real people, real constraints, real lives. This work isn't abstract. It's happening in classrooms. It's happening with learners navigating reentry, career transitions, financial pressure, and a rapidly changing economy all at once. Today's conversation comes from inside that room. In this episode, SkarrNet founder Dennis Skarr will be joined by Nicole Bryant, a Los Angeles-based participant in the Green Building track, along with Kat Santana from the Catalyst Tapestry, who brings a workforce lens to the conversation. What you'll hear isn't a polished case study. It's learning in motion. Dennis, take it from here.
Thanks, Ben. Bridges LA is a new program. We're standing this up at scale, which means learning in real time. What matters is what's happening inside our learning. Today, we're joined by Nicole Bryant from our Green Building track. Nicole came into the classroom with a strong digital foundation and quickly became a bridge for others in the classroom. Her experience reflects what we're seeing everywhere, the digital literacy gap, the fear around AI, and the shift that happens when people realize that these tools can work with them, not against them. Nicole brings a unique perspective on her digital readiness, helping people build confidence with technology in real practical ways. Her experience supporting classmates and community members highlights how access, patience, and sustainability intersect in today's digital world. Nicole, thanks for being here.
thank you for having me. I'm happy to be a part of this conversation.
Nicole, when you first walked into the classroom, what immediately felt clear?
I think I noticed that there was definitely a digital divide with the people who are kind of on the lower end of knowledge, just with not even with AI, but with just general technology.
How did it kind of evolve? Like you were a little bit more fluid with everything, and you immediately kind of became a teacher's aide for me, which was so helpful because we did have a good number of students who needed that additional one-on-one support. So having you kind of like step up and fill that role, like what did it look like? Because I definitely saw a progression over the week. I saw students like with their confidence on day one, a little shaky as they're kind of like working with, phones that may not have been up to speed.
I think what I noticed is that when their confidence shifted throughout the week, people initially, I think, are a little bit afraid of AI because they only hear certain things on the news or whatever they're hearing on podcasts or whatever. And most of the time, it's not necessarily super positive. It's the environmental factors. It's, the bad things that can come from AI. People aren't really discussing how it can actually help you if you know how to implement it. So I think the beginning of the week, a lot of people are like, it's going to replace me. I'm not going to have a job. How am I going to move forward later? And then toward the end of the week, especially with the 3 or 4 people that I was helping most of the time, they all opened up so much to AI and putting their ideas in. Some of them were like, I'm not going to put my idea in so it can steal it and send it to someone else. And then they're almost like, it is available for someone to look at, but it's not in a way where people are like going and monitoring everything you're doing so they can steal an idea from you. So I think just being able to help them get more comfortable with it and just understand that it can be helpful in everybody's life. The class was just great, and it also helped me understand that I am it was in the wrong field as far as work because I was in insurance. And that's definitely not where I needed to be. And not like I literally put my notice in. My last day was the last day of the year, and I was done because I'm inspired. And 2, I just realized my job was draining me and that me being in the classroom, I was so excited when I left. Like every day I left, I was happy. And usually when I'm off work, not so happy. Usually have to go decompress and figure out how to put myself back in a good spirit. Every day I left that class, I was like, okay, let me go do my work. I finished my work, of course, but I had other stuff I was looking forward to doing.
So, we talked about like students kind of doing this transformative learning on, day one, they're building their confidence in digital tools. We're working on critical thinking, communication, and they were kind of building up their confidence, but it sounds like you were also building up your confidence, but you were on a different path. So what was it about the classroom? Was it activities? Was it the students? Was it you kind of becoming a teacher? Because you came in there already comfortable with AI. But something happened over the week. What was it? What kind of caused that shift in your I'm in here to learn to I'm in here to lead?
All education systems obviously aren't the same, and everybody doesn't have the same access to even just computers. And I take advantage that everybody has a laptop because I've always had one. So I don't, live in a world where I haven't known technology the entire time. So it's just, I don't know. I'm going to say it was like the teaching part with students. And then just seeing how even when you were teaching and when we were doing the like green sustainability part where we were like, designing the houses,
Yeah.
how excited everybody got. Everybody got super excited when we were designing the greenhouses because they realized you can like put all your ideas in there and it'll figure out something and then you can learn how to adjust it, but you can really use it to build something for your community. Obviously that's good, but that'll also be good for the earth and it'll help us all be here a little bit longer. But I just think the entire process, honestly, was just eye-opening for me. From the first week with Remy, I think she opened my eyes on me having a little bit of imposter syndrome and me not fully believing in myself. And then by the time you came in, I was already at a little bit of a higher confidence level as far as figuring out, okay, I need to be doing something else. What is it? And then as you were teaching and Tara was going over stuff and I was helping people, I was like, I think I need to be teaching. I don't know like what I'm supposed to be doing, but I like prayed on it. And like I said, literally every day I came in the class, I was getting like confirmation. I was going out to other places and people were needing help. Sometimes I'm at the public library here for a book club and there were people there that needed help. There was somebody working on a resume for 4 hours. I helped her put it in the chat GPT. She was done in like 3 minutes and then she had to go edit it. And she was like 60 something and she was so happy. And she was like, I didn't have anybody to call. I didn't know what to do. She was like, I've been working on this for 4 hours. I didn't even know it could be that easy. So just being able to see how it like makes other people happy. I'm the type of person, I'm an empath and I do like making other people happy. And I just like people to be in good spirits. So everything about the program, I think just let me know that I needed to be in somewhere where I am of service of people and not necessarily just doing what I was doing in insurance. So.
Awesome. So, kind of once again, so like first day of class, you mentioned, students were struggling with digital tools like native stuff, like with the web browsers, password reset, and that's what we're there for. We're there to build up that confidence. But we're also introducing AI as a learning partner. And we wanted people to get comfortable with AI. And clearly, you got that figured out because you're able to actually help somebody struggling after this class. I mean, your natural empath and kind of desire to help led you there. But from your observations, like how did the class kind of feel about AI on like day one? And then, what really kind of changed during our boot camp that maybe went them from like one direction to thinking a little bit differently? Like what was that journey like?
I think in the beginning, there was a lot of fear around AI and around what AI was doing currently in most people's lives. There was a lot of lack of exposure and just, I think, in the beginning, there was just a lack of exposure and knowledge, I'll say, on AI and how you can use it. And I think each day in the program, as we were using it to do different things and they were learning how to prompt and learning how to be more specific with prompts and how, it can also be wrong and you also have to check stuff. They were learning that it's a tool that you have to learn with as well. Like your chat, and I tell people this all the time, your AI has to learn with you. You have to learn with it. It's not going to be perfect. You're not perfect. So it's, you have to be able to adjust with it. And I think by the end of the week, people just had more knowledge of like what AI can do in their lives, how they can use it, even if they wanted to do HVAC or whether they wanted to do green building, all of them figured out how they can use it to help further themselves, whether it's resumes, like I said, if it's stuff specifically for your job. But because it can be used in all fields, everybody by the end of the week, I think was more positive, and everybody had ChatGPT on their phone by the end. And I think we're much more excited about the possibilities of the future and how they can use it. So
Awesome. And the students you were kind of working with, like you gravitated towards students that needed help the most. And that was great because, one of the other things that we really want to build out of our programs is bringing back that social connection. And, as an educator, I feel like that's been hard to rekindle since we went fully online since COVID. And, that's something I'm trying to integrate in the class. And I love your section of the classroom. Like, I feel like, you guys already had those natural sparks and connections there. And there are a few students who were struggling on day one. But by the end of the class, these students were very excited and passionate about technology and AI as a whole. What kind of surprised you about those individual students that went from like, I'm struggling with tech to really kind of being comfortable in the week? Like, what was your kind of journey with them as you as you kind of saw them progress over the week?
I think the people that I was helping the most were some of the justice affected individuals in the class. And a lot of them, I'm going to say one of them had just gotten out after 15 years. One, it was like 30, and one was like 5 or 6. So I understood that they weren't going to be, they were going to be at a lower, like, understanding of certain stuff with technology and AI. And I think, I recognized them from the beginning when I walked into the class. They were all the most exuberant students in the class. So they were that. I just, like I said, I saw a need with those guys. I saw that they were struggling because I do understand that sometimes when people are justice affected, they get very turned off to doing stuff or trying new things very fast, especially when they're first getting out. They get discouraged quite easily. So if stuff isn't going perfect, it can take them to a place where they're not confident in themselves. They think they're dumb. They're like, okay, I just been out of jail. I'm just a jailbird. So you have to continuously, when you're dealing with justice affected people, know that you have to instill confidence in them the entire time that you're teaching them. Like, it's like a thing where you're halfway teaching and halfway kind of being a therapist, because you have to understand that mentally, a lot of them are not in the same place as far as like confidence, because they're getting out. Some people already have a natural lack of confidence because they feel like people are already judging them. So I just tried to make it clear there's no judgment here. You can make a mistake. It's okay. I'll make a mistake. When I was making mistakes, I was showing them on purpose so that they would see, I put this in. It didn't come out right because I wasn't specific enough. So you just have to make sure people understand that everybody matters, and that you deserve to learn new things, and you can't hold yourself back because you don't know. Not knowing and wanting to know is the first step in you getting to a better place, because you can actually, if you have the ambition to want to do something or learn something, it helps you accomplish or do better at it. So
thanks, Nicole, for your wonderful thoughts. Like that means a lot. And those students, I really connected with them over the week, and I'm glad they left with confidence in their devices. And that was like one of the big things we were working on with that program was confidence. Mm-hmm. And even in the second boot camp that we just wrapped up last week, that was day one. I kept saying that over and over again. We're here for confidence, 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 and everything is wrapped around that, because I saw the value during our session, and I really brought it more forward with the next. And I think we're going to, triple down with it with what we're kind of going to be instructing next week when the class is nothing but AI. But we've talked a lot about technology and AI. But, this class is about green building and construction jobs. And one thing that I really loved about it is, like, we're talking about AI in green construction and in clean energy with the new California fire codes in here. And that was like integrated as part of this design. And to me, it really highlighted that, all occupations can benefit from AI instructed properly. Like, how do we use it? And from your perspective, from like the green side and the construction side, within this boot camp, What was the most practical that we kind of did in classroom? Like, what did you walk away with? And like, I can actually apply this, if I were to move into some sort of career field that we discussed in class.
Well, since I come from insurance, I do insurance like adjusting, and I also assist our clients with the rebuild process. Like I don't pick their contractors, but I kind of manage them to make sure because I have to help with the mortgages as well. I came from a different point of view because I have so many clients. I have a lot of Palisades and Altadena people that houses burned down fully. So a lot of them were going through the process of trying to figure out how to rebuild. Most of them did not, even if they got full insurance payments, did not get enough to rebuild with the current prices of building materials. Half of the reason I took the class was because I was really trying to get information for some of my clients on how they could build their houses green and kind of more sustainable, and learning about different types of designs where the houses would burn slower or not burn. It's not going to burn at all, but there would be less damage so that it wasn't like full burn downs. I think in the class, my approach was different because I hadn't necessarily looked at the green building the way we were doing it, like building the house around adding all the green stuff to it. When I was thinking of green building, I was thinking of just like the building materials. And I think being in the class opened me up to it being also an aesthetic part of the house that is also helpful in making sure that the houses are more sustainable and obviously don't burn so bad the next time. Yeah, my interest pretty much came from my clients there because literally there are just so many that it's just working in insurance has been very trying over the last year. This was my first time ever having to deal with fires. So I hadn't seen the devastation that people are accustomed to in California. I've seen it on the news, but seeing the actual houses, talking to the actual people, having to deal with the emotional impact of them having to rebuild or them getting $800,000, but their house is going to cost $1.8 million to rebuild, and them having to figure out, or me having to help them figure out, okay, guys, like you have to make a decision. Not saying you have to sell, but these are your options. You're going to have to take out an additional loan, having to just be straightforward, the business side of it, and just looking at just the numbers and not including any emotions. It hurt my feelings. I was so sad so many times because we have families where it's like 3 and 4 houses in a neighborhood where they all own, especially in Altadena. Their parents worked 50s and 60s to get those houses, and now they're having to figure out, okay, well, can we just keep 2 tracks and then we all build and take all the money we had and just put those into 2 houses instead of having 4 and sell the other one. So for me, learning the green building was so that I could, one, see if there were cheaper ways for my clients to be able to rebuild their homes, or if there were ways that they didn't have to just give up, because if people gave up so much and the devastation in Altadena, like my first time driving out there, I literally cried. My boss was like, you have to go home. I was like, I'm too emotional for this, because I was like, I can't sit here and just talk to people. We're trying to sign contracts. I'm like, these people are emotionally upset because they just lost their full home. So it's just, I wanted to use it to obviously help people, but I do know that it is necessary, not just in California, but everywhere, because the weather is changing so much and we're having fires in places where they didn't have fires before. So building sustainably is going to be very important for the future, just because of how things are changing in our world weather-wise. So the class definitely, like I said, I was already trying to learn, but as we were learning and doing the designing of stuff, it helped open my eyes to like the possibilities for what was there. Because every day we left class, I was on chat, like, can we build this? Can we build that? My chat thinks I'm like crazy. It's like, you always ask me the most large questions, because I was like, tell me how we can build data centers sustainably and green so that we use we exert a third of the pollution we exert now. And it was like, you want me to give you this in one answer? Okay, not now. But I think I am very excited about trying to figure out ways that we can use AI and technology to rebuild our world in a better way so that we are all just sustainable and can use it.
Yeah. And all that's wonderful. And, you have the lived experience. You're working in insurance. You lived through the fire. You were there when it happened. and you kind of found yourself into this class with AI and green construction. And you kind of talked about some of the fire codes activities or some that we were kind of like working on in class. Like, is there a specific skill or like something that we did within the classroom that kind of just made you kind of zero in on kind of the green construction side of things? Like, you've been a great leader. You're helping other students, but just around green, like, like what was it that you did and you experienced personally that made you see the connection from what we're working in the classroom to the problems that the LA community is currently facing?
I think when we did the blueprints, you had us do where we were doing the different houses and buildings for green sustainability, and then we went out and did the outside projects.
Yeah.
I think in between those 2 days, because I think it was the day in between, is when it opened my eyes to, because I was looking at everybody else's designs. When you had everybody upload their stuff, people were so creative with the things that they were prompting and the images that we ended up with, that it opened my eyes to like other stuff I could be asking chat to add to make it more green or sustainable. I think having the wide array of the group is good because we got a lot of different types of buildings, and you can include different aspects of everyone's building because everyone added something to their building that was like super unique that I was like, oh, wouldn't have thought about that. So I think in between then, when we were doing the prompts for the green buildings, and then the day we did the outside at the little courthouse area.
Yeah. So
outside. So
you've kind of danced around what this exercise is, and me and you know what the exercise is, but can you explain what we did to the audience? Like, what makes that really interesting? So you brought up a couple times, like, where do we start? Where do we go? And you mentioned some other students did some cool stuff. So what did we do, and how did that relate to AI and green building?
Well, we used prompts, and I believe we were using ChatGPT, and used it to create. Now, I know your initial prompt was to create a home. Everybody, we weren't all listening. The initial prompt was to like create a home that you could build somewhere in South Bay, because that's where most of the people came from. But I think a lot of people, we were ambitious. So there were some buildings, there were some apartments, there were a wider range of activity as far as what people prompted. But I think once you let everyone know, once they did the basic prompts, I think a lot of people didn't like what it looked like, and they're like, I want something larger. So they went in to chat again and learn to read prompts, because we had learned the day before about prompting and how you have to be specific. Mm-hmm. And once we gave them the basic prompts, I think they saw that you do have to be more specific, because you have to, in order for it to be your vision, you have to tell it exactly kind of what you want for it to come out. So I think just us doing the initial prompts, and then when everyone adjusted their prompts to be more specific, that is where the change happened, because that's where we saw the images and people were able to redo things and like, okay, so this is how it can actually look. Like I said, we didn't follow your instructions as a class the whole way. We got some really, really large apartment buildings and skyscrapers, but I think in general, that allowed the class to learn that there are just so many possibilities, because like I said, the different images that came up were so different from everybody that it just let everybody, there's literally the world is out there for you to figure out, and for you to be able to kind of design or do things how you want to do them, as long as you stick within certain parameters. But I think the entire class learned when we were creating the images. That helped open everybody's eyes to understanding exactly what AI can do and how you can use it to build and be green and sustainable.
Yeah. So before the image generation, we had something else that we kind of worked on, because we didn't want to start with digital in that particular exercise. We started differently. And what did we produce first? And then how did we actually work with that to digital? Yeah. So we started old school.
I'm trying to remember. What did we do? I thought we were doing prompting.
We remember we went outside. We gathered the graph paper, some Post-it notes.
Oh, no, that's what, yeah, that was after. Yeah.
Yeah.
After. So when we did the outside activity where we broke into groups and then everyone like design, what were we designing, Dennis? I can't remember.
The fire codes. Remember we were using the graph paper.
I remember we
to
were
actually
doing but what were we building? We were like drawing something out.
Oh,
we were, okay, so you had us drawing a blueprint of like our own house or farm and make sure that it was within the fire code. So we learned about the distance things have to be as far as trees and other buildings and anything you have when you're doing sustainable building, obviously. We learned how to make sure that they were spaced correctly so that it was within fire code and that it didn't make the house more likely to burn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. It's been a bit. And then, we had these Post-it notes, and then I love that students were even taking like plants and trees and everything and making the landscaping in there instead of drawing them in with the pencils and markers
there
we
were
had.
lots of details. There were pools and livestock and fences. There was so much. Everyone had a lot they added, but that also, I think, opened people's mind to one, you have to be more specific when you're building to make sure you're paying attention to make sure that the building will be safe.
Yeah.
It being California, I think it's smart that everybody knows that so that when you're planning stuff, even just by your house, to plan it a certain amount of distance away from the house so that you don't make it more likely for it to burn. So yes, that part, the outside activity, I think was fun for everybody. And even there, we got more creative. The groups, every group had a different and very creative layout by the time we were done with it.
Yeah, that was great. And then we started off with that activity. Then we took it to digital that you kind of mentioned. Then people were like taking pictures of it, doing image generation to transfer what they designed by hand into using digital tools and see if we could actually translate that accurately. And that was a lot of fun. That's where I think a lot of people went from like, I'm building a farmhouse to a samurai compound. It
turned into compounds. There were like full, large, like very, very, I'm not, they had a lot of, like, their minds were fully open. Like I said, by the time we did the outside activity and it was transferred over, everybody's minds were like blown. I think at that point when they transferred it into like when they realized they could just take a simple picture of the little blueprint and put it in. You may have to adjust a couple things, but that it'll build out kind of what you want to see. And then them going from like doing that to actually seeing it, because most of us tried to prompt it so it was as similar as possible.
Yeah.
But you can see it in the physical sense. And I think that really helped. That really helped open everybody's eyes to understanding that a simple idea can turn into like this great project at the end. You just have to be able to use AI in your own brain, obviously, to be able to bring things to fruition. So yeah, that part was great. Part of the program.
Thank you, Nicole. So Kat, we've been discussing a lot about how AI readiness, digital literacy, and everything's really kind of shaping the workforce, from the trades to the utility spaces to the classroom. We're constantly trying to figure out and identify like what are the best methodologies and kind of bringing this in. And listening to Nicole's story and understanding what we're doing in Bridges, what are your thoughts on what you're hearing here today, and what questions do you have for us?
Digital readiness is the foundation for every single pathway. Nicole spoke to a wide variety of learners in that space within the classroom, and how everyone starting in that space of let's start skilling up in digital literacy allowed for folks to get ready for what was going to come next in the second portion of the boot camp, where you were actually introducing AI as a learning partner. And so helping get folks comfortable for that. It is literally the basis for everything. And especially now more than ever, world is moving faster, tools are advancing, and the importance of this boot camp, including, and this training, I should say, Bridges boot camp, including this insertion of AI into green building, into fire codes, and looking at it with this amazing lens. we took these learners all the way from those who we spoke about that were justice impacted, who were really far away from a digital literacy in this world and looking at computers and, like you said, Nicole, using their phones. Here's a phone, use it. All the way to we're making and designing buildings and creating buildings, starting small and growing it, with exploration and creativity into, we said, compounds and skyscrapers and all these things where creativity was introduced and allowed them to just really explore. And so it has to be the foundation of everything. With digital literacy being the baseline for every pathway, one thing that feels really important to say is that learners aren't lacking intelligence or effort or curiosity or motivation. They're stepping into tools and systems that assume that they already have prior exposure and experience. Nicole, can I ask you a question?
Oh, yes, sure.
So context for viewers, workforce system, those who help folks skill up for training, and obviously with training and those employers who hire them. If an employer or folks in the workforce system were listening to you right now, what would you want them to understand about people coming through what this is considered as a non-traditional pathway?
I would say I think to be as open as you can to all individuals, because everybody can bring some sort of assistance to every business. Definitely not to rule someone out because they don't have the maybe experience, if they have the ambition or the want to gain knowledge. Anyone I think who is ambitious enough to get up, because a lot of them were on the bus. They were traveling 2 and 3 hours to get there, because I haven't taken the bus here, but I know that they say the lines don't connect well. So I just think that anybody that has the ambition to get up at 6 to be somewhere at 9, be there till 12 and get home at 3, even if it's just 2 weeks, that shows that they are open and ready to grow. So I just think be open to everyone. And be open to training people. I think we have lost the art of wanting to train people. We just want people to kind of come in knowledgeable. I remember even when I graduated from college, it's like you go to a job interview and they want you to have 3 to 5 years experience, but you can't have that if you haven't been working or if you haven't been in the field. And honestly, most jobs I've gone to, they have to retrain you anyway. So you're going to have to train the person on your systems. You're going to have to train them on how you do things in your company. So with that, try to be as open to getting people as possible, and not necessarily just look at large colleges or large certifications for you to have people and bring them onto your team. Be willing to hire someone and upskill them while you have them. Because when you have people and they're learning, they're making enough money and they're happy, you have better employees and your business will be better for it.
So before this program, how hard or easy do you think it would have been for folks who attended, who participated, to explain their skills that they had to an employer or a peer, or maybe even just to themselves? How do you feel that going through this program and building things tangibly and having assets they walked away from, how do you think that lends to them being able to explain their skills to an employer?
Well, I think the entire class got something from that. We kind of started with that with Remy. Most people, when she first asked people what they can do or what they do at work, would give very basic, unconfident answers in what they do. I think once everyone put I figured out that I do more than I thought I did. I never even put what I do for work in it, but I realized I was doing way more than I even thought that I was doing. So I think the beginning of the class, I want to say everybody was probably had less knowledge of how effective AI can be in just helping you explain what you do more effectively and clearly. so that you can actually sell yourself the best. Remy, I think, I can't remember what section, but we did go over putting just basic job stuff. Like I was telling people, don't be fancy with it. Put what you do. I put pipes in, I talk to people on the phone, whatever it is, and it'll give you a very good list of what you do in a way so that I think it gave everybody confidence. So some of the people didn't think that their jobs were that deep, or I can't really explain it. It's not going to be that great. And once they put it into AI, they were able to understand that, oh, what I do is actually a skill set. And it comes with other things, and there are skill sets that come from that. And using AI definitely helped everybody in the class. Because like I said, everybody, Miss Cynthia, everybody in the class, I think, figured out that your job is just more than basically what your title is. You do a lot of other things under your umbrella, whether you know it or not. So,
And that's so true. And I think, sorry, I have to cough. You and the others in the classroom are really representative of what the workforce looks like right now. Folks don't have a linear path of learning or experience. They're pulling skills from lived experience, jobs they've had in the past, community service that they've done, volunteerism, just all the spaces in life where you are doing that. You are actually doing, right? You're doing the work, right? And that's where we're pulling in all this life experience. And then we're not using AI to replace instruction. We're using it in spaces to draw out those skills, those learnings, help them grow and expand. Yeah. And it just blows my mind. And it just makes it so exciting for me that with a wide variety of learners with all their broad pathways of learned experience can come and sit down and learn and then create, the same types of wonderful things together, and walk that path together. I so appreciate the way that you stepped in to helping your classmates and helping them learn and feel comfortable. And I think it's important to mark out where confidence comes in. So when you have confidence and you're building it and you have all these lived experiences and skills and you're applying them in a space together where this learning can take folks. And you mentioned earlier that for you and others, it opened doorways. It opened possibilities for the future, I think is how you expressed that. And it, like I said, we started with digital literacy. You had, as we know, quite a bit of experience in this with what you do in work. And then looking at those who had much, much less. When you look at that, tell me about how it felt for you seeing a gap in a gap in the digital literacy space. Did you have a concern when you walked in? Were you worried about folks being like, oh, maybe they aren't going to, do as well as they could in this space?
Well, I think after the first day, a little bit, because I just didn't realize how, but just the lack of knowledge that some people had. I think it was, I think I was more concerned at first because I was like, oh no, I'm not sure if they're going to get the best out of it. Like I said, I know that a lot of people lose confidence and will lose ambition to do something if they come in and feel like they're the most unprepared person in the class. So when we were going around and introducing ourselves in the first week, and everybody kind of stated while they were there and what they hoped to learn and what they hoped to get out of the cohort, I think I was a little worried at first, but Remy, her first week was good at bringing everyone together because she was kind of doing, I really want to say she was doing psychology. I know she was supposed to be doing work readiness, but I think she gave everybody a lot of confidence. Remy is very LA. So she knows how to connect with people. She's wonderfully LA, where she It's like, look, I'm just like y'all. I came from here, that. This has been my life. She gave us her full story from how she struggled to where she is now owning 2 companies. So I think initially I was a little scared. I think Remy helped quell it a bit because I realized that she kind of understood how to talk to some of them. She noticed who was unconfident as well and who was going to need a little bit more motivation. And then when we came in with Dennis and Tara, like I said, those people were kind of already a little bit more confident, but I think by the second week, everybody was more open to learning. Like their confidence improved, like just personally. I think the first week was a lot of psychology more than it was AI learning. Most of the AI stuff we did with Dennis and Tara, but the first week was her doing career coaching and really instilling confidence. Of course, we did LinkedIn profiles and they started with the resumes or whatever, but I just think having her there to help them understand that everybody starts at a certain point and then they build their way up. She was very clear with, I started here and then I ended up here, but this is all the stuff I had to do in between. And it can be so much easier for you guys if you use AI. He's like, if I would have had these tools for me, I could have did certain things a lot faster. You guys have access to do this. So you have access to make your life better faster than I did. So try to make sure you're using this stuff. And she was like, next week when they come in, try to be open. Like she tried to make sure that they were open to learning and not like putting themselves in a box and not just not being I don't even know what the word is, just making sure that they came in with their confidence and knowing that wherever their knowledge base was, that they were still going to be okay by the end. Because I was a little concerned the first day. I was like, everybody's so different. And I was like, this is not it was very much non-linear. So I was very confused and concerned. But I was reading a book called Tiny Experiments around the time. So everything I was doing, it was a tiny experiment. So I said, this is just a 2-week tiny experiment. I'm going to see how this goes. And by the end of it, it was a really great experiment, obviously. But I just think instilling confidence in the people, I think, is the biggest thing that I learned that they need for them to learn. And it will just help them be more open, and people help them open their minds and help them just be more open to building whatever that I don't even know what I'm trying to say, guys. I'm getting tripped up here. But just,
Would you say, I was going to say this might help. Would you say with the confidence throughout the program, the comfortability with using tools and folks settling into digital literacy and AI literacy with that exposure and creating things, would you say at the end that for the participants, or you can speak for yourself, would you say that if an employer reached out to you, you would be so much better equipped to explain the skills that you have?
yes, definitely. Yeah, I think that was for me and everybody in the class. I think, like I said, we all learned that we all do more than we know at work, and that you have multiple job titles. Even if you just have one at your job, you're doing multiple things. I think everyone was just very confident after we entered those prompts and seeing what the list that it gave you. It instilled confidence in whatever they were currently doing or whatever I was currently doing and where people wanted to transition. So it was very instrumental in that. I'll say that.
Thanks for all those questions, Kat. Like that really cleared up and also kind of confirmed a lot of the stuff that we've been discussing. And, your take and expertise in this space is always great when we're looking at how do we really, serve our students best with integrating AI. There's all these different complexities. We had some great talks here today, but we barely even scratched the surface. There was so much that we covered in this classroom around like ethical uses and how does that affect the workforce and all these really, really great all these great conversations about how everyone views this tool integrating in technology into jobs like green construction. And with that, Nicole, you talked about how you want to actually teach people how to use AI. So what I would like to do is, let's say, you are going to do it. And when you get there and you open up to your classroom, hi, I'm Nicole Bryant. I'm your teacher today. I'm going to be teaching you. What are you going to tell your students? What's your opening line to them on what they're going to be learning and what your take on your class is going to be?
I would say you are going to learn how to use technology to build the life you want. That is, I guess, yeah, I think that's what I'd say. How to use technology to build the life you want.
What an incredible conversation this has been. I hope you, the viewer, you're starting to feel the impact that SkarrNet is having in real classrooms. How technology, when we use it right, helps us human better. SkarrNet's visit to Los Angeles brought the data and IT bootcamp to this really diverse group of Angelenos through our partnership with the Urban League of Los Angeles as part of the Bridges LA program. Dennis, what you've helped cultivate here matters, and we're seeing it play out in front of us now. Nicole, your journey says everything. Going from facing imposter syndrome, trusting your instincts, stepping forward, watching you move from learner to instructor in real time, that was awe-inspiring. The way you describe AI as a learning partner, that feels exactly right. It's something you learn with, something you adapt with, right? What stood out most to me was the shift, the hesitation coming in that all of the learners were feeling, the skepticism, and by the end of the week, the confidence, the curiosity, the momentum. Everyone had ChatGPT on their phone by the end, and it wasn't because they felt pressured, but it was out of possibility, right? And to me, that's the through line here, that as Kat said, digital readiness is the foundation of every pathway forward. This episode of SkarrNet is part of our pilot documentation. What we observed, what learners needed, what we're improving next. Because this work isn't about tools, it's about the humility to learn in public. Bridges LA shows that the future of workforce development, it's not about dropping shiny tech into old systems. It's about slowing down long enough to build confidence, capability, trust, and then accelerating together. AI doesn't replace learning, it reshapes it. And when this work is done right, people don't just gain skills, they gain momentum. This is the work SkarrNet exists to do.
They're stepping into stools and I said stools. Thanks.
You put it in her head, Dennis.
They're